Whether lazing around and putting your feet up, doing a few repairs, or snuggling under your quilt, there's no place like home. And yet some animals have itchy feet. Whether a short walk or a long trip, they're certainly not daunted by distance. Day and night, leafcutter ants march several kilometers in single file to collect pieces of leaf to store for food in the nest. Back and forth, these poor workers spend all day in a traffic jam before getting back home. The biggest lizard in the world, the fearsome Komodo dragon, may have lived on his island for 100 million years, but that doesn't stop him from taking a vacation. A quick 10-kilometer swim to see what life is like on another island. The albatross can travel for a whole year carried by the winds of the ocean. They can be found thousands and thousands of kilometers away from home. Okay, so far so good. However wonderfully they may fly, they're far from being experts at landing. Ow! From short trips to opportunist migrations. Certain animals have to make business trips, like these dolphins which feed on schools of small migratory fish. These fish cover hundreds of kilometers along the warm Gulf Stream each year, so if they don't want to go hungry, the dolphins have to travel with them. During the dry season in southern parts of Africa, elephants also hit the road. Food and water are scarce. Hey, keep your trunk off my bush, unless you want trouble. Able to remember places they visited years ago, certain herds travel long distances just to find a place to have a drink or a refreshing bath. On a much sadder note, some animals, like these monarch butterflies, fly away never to return. From Canada, the monarchs cross 2/3 of the North American continent to reproduce and metamorphose in the warm forests of Mexico. A 6,000-kilometer migration from which there's no coming back. Come summer, this new generation of monarchs will head off to Quebec. Salmon leave the sea and swim upriver to lay their eggs in calmer waters. Another migration with no return. Killed by exhaustion or devoured by bears, only a rare few adults will make it back to the sea after reproducing in the spawning grounds. And finally, one of nature's contrasts. Here's a sea worm that never migrates. In fact, it spends its whole life on the same coral. Yep, there is no place like home. After improvised round trips, short stopovers, and journeys with no return, return to the great migrations. Due to bad weather, for a honeymoon or simply to survive, certain animals are obliged to circumnavigate the globe, often in extreme conditions. As winter closes in on Antarctica, Adelie penguin couples split up. While future dads keep the eggs warm, that's how it is with Adelie penguins, the men do all the work. The mothers migrate to eat their fill of fish and squid before the big chill sets in. Come on, ladies, in you go. In water that can be colder than 0 degrees Celsius, the females swim like torpedoes for hundreds of kilometers to fill their stomachs. And for the lazy ones, there's even a bus. After a 5 to 6 week round trip, it's back home because the chicks have hatched and they need feeding. And Dad is so relieved to see her. Give us a kiss. Now it's my turn for a vacation. "6,000 kilometers on the wing. That's the amazing long-haul flight that Manchurian cranes make twice a year across the continent of Asia. From one sunset to the next, they take to the air in October to flee winter. This incredible voyage from Manchuria to India requires them to fly over the vastest range of mountains in the world, the Himalayas. Thus, every year, the cranes fly upwards and onwards over the highest peaks on the planet, offering to only the few people who live in this region the opportunity to witness this extraordinary migration. It's a non-stop flight taking a mere 2 or 3 days. It's followed by a brief stopover in northern India before taking to the skies a few days later for their final destination, southern India. The mating season is another reason to take a long trip. Flamboyant and magical, this gathering of the stingrays exists somewhere between nature and science fiction. Finding a snack on a huge blanket of ice some 20 meters thick at nearly 50 degrees below zero is certainly no picnic. In order to feed, these cuddly polar bears are forced to track down their favorite dinner, seals. Seals that are not so easy to catch. As the ice melts in summer, the polar bears move out onto the ice pack which floats across the ocean, turning the bears around the pole as though they're on a huge merry-go-round. 2 journeys for the price of 1. Not bad. And finally, here's an incredible little bird which might well have migrated away from the ice, but which prefers splashing around in the freezer. Sometimes nature really is strange.